welcome back to Friday night's Ascent, brought to you by AOE. I'm Pyronius, joined here by Cyberways, and we are here to bring you the semi-finals of the Alpha Division. Should be an exciting night, shouldn't it, Cyber?
It should be indeed. Good evening to one and all. And we have a name that should be familiar to some of the people in the Overwatch scene here in Australia. If you've kept your ear to the ground, we do have MAWF Black, I believe. And who are their opponents if you want to run us through?
They'll be going up against PPE Revival, which are a team on a bit of a hot streak at the moment. Apparently, they've been scrim monsters as well. So while they have lost during the regular season to Morph Black, this is definitely a chance for them to come back and really hit hard against a team that has been one of the really strongest teams in here. They have made a couple of runs at Open Div and made Open Div finals in Morph Black. So definitely a big powerhouse to be going up against. But PPE Revival, they definitely have a chance here.
Yes, indeed. And hopefully we'll be able to turn the PPE, which I believe stands for paper plane, maybe turn that into cardboard and something a little bit more structurally sound in this next set. We will be kicking off this run of the evening on Lijiang Tower. The calls to ready have been made by a majority of the servers, so we will be traveling to the neon lights and bustle very, very shortly. And as you did say, Peronius, a hot streak is what is in the hands of the revival set. And hopefully, for their sake at the very least, we want that to continue. They would at the very least.
Yeah, definitely. That said, Morph Black have not lost a game this season in the regular season, so they're definitely not going to be looking to do that now either. Last time these two teams met, it was a 3-1 victory in favor of Morph Black. But as we've said, from what we've heard, PP Revival have been absolute scrim monsters lately, so if anyone is going to be able to bring down Morph Black, it's definitely here. This will be a first to three here in this semi-finals. The winner of this going through to our grand final next week. And as always, we'll be starting here over on Lijiang Tower for our control map mode. Just spending a bit of time here waiting for the assembly. Just as a heads up, I do not believe there is currently any rules in place to enforce the 2-2-2, as it hasn't hit ranked as of yet. So I think we can expect teams to potentially be running more of what we're used to at this level. But at the same time, teams are definitely going to be starting to practice towards that playstyle as well, because it is coming. So it's going to be interesting to see what we see from them. So far, it does look like we've got a team full of DPS versus a team full of tanks. So definitely the meta that we're more used to rather than the most recent one. But we'll see how things unfold as the gates get open here.
Yeah, perhaps the last ride for the full tank compositions. The countdown has been rated by Athena, and the gates are down, and we are underway. The opening point is the gun, and we see in the center a lot of tanks just moving towards the point and trying to get a strong arm. But despite all of the blue side being singled out, Tyler is gone. That is an early get, and especially with the Moira being such a high value target, it would look like Morph Black are looking to continue that upper hand, and they definitely are now with another healer out of the fray.
Yeah, Shiny Hero going in there, and a huge play there from Dr. Neem, getting two people off the edge. That is incredible, and that is definitely going to set up the members of Morph Black to get the cap point here, start getting the progress there. Just a couple of tactical resets from the tanks of PPE Revival, and already we're going to have some composition swaps coming through as they move over to a double sniper comp to try and unseat this heavy DPS comp coming out from Morph Black.
And Dr. Me, that is a fresh set of memes to start off with, and definitely a strong showing, and an early contender of being a priority target, especially with the barrage at the ready. He lets it go, eliminates two members, and that is a big Winston being pulled off of the table. And that is as quick as you like. And well, this paper plane, it can't really soar yet. They haven't really had a chance to.
Absolutely, and they have to worry about Rack Center rather's minefield coming through that choke on the next engage most likely. Gluten's got the sights available as well, and none of them, because of that comp swap after the first fight, are even remotely close to having ultimates online. So they can't expect to win this next fight either, realistically.
Certainly not. Gluten has got the better the revival already, or nothing to do with this, and through all lack of getting percentage, see the proper revival and
just cutting
running
in
out
and out there
of
a
time,
bit.
and they
There we go.
don't really have a lot of room to get.
Yeah, this is starting to look really dangerous. There's the EMP coming through. That is another nasty thing. And Wax Centaur still has this minefield as well. They're playing into the ultimates. They've already lost Mitochondria as well. There's the minefield now. Not a lot of value from that one at this stage, but the kill's still coming through in favor of MAWF Black rather. PPE Revival on the ropes here. They've managed to get a touch on the point with the help of that Nano Diva. Res being disrupted there by the knockback as well. And this kill's still overwhelmingly in favor of MAWF Black. There's another barrage from Dr. Meme. That is likely to end things off. Blur fires out the Dragon Strike as well. The only casualty, Dr. Meme. And it's just a few remaining members of PPE just drifting onto the point. Mitochondria trying to keep things alive on the Tracer. Here comes Tyler on the Lucio as well. But it is one person against the world. No chance of survival. And there's the point flipped back once again. Few more people staggering in. Waters Edge back in. Well, there goes a wrecking ball as soon as they came in. And finally, that will be MAWF Black claiming the victory here. And they will take victory in Night Market to go up 1-0 here on Lijiang Tower.
And despite that that tip over just before, I believe it was just after overtime was engaged, it didn't seem like the side of the Paper Plane Revival were really in the fight. It just seemed like a MAWF Black map from end to end, and hopefully on this next point, PPE Revival can actually get just at least try to get a foothold on this next point, which will be the Garden, and we might see a Widow duel take place between DJ Jeff and Gluten. It looks like that is exactly what will go down. We'll see a Pharaoh duel as well.
Yeah, it should be an interesting one, and you're right that hopefully PPE Revival are able to get out. They ended up just in a really nasty spot there with a massive ult disadvantage, and MAWF Black rotated really well through their ultimates to keep that advantage up. So really well played by them. But Mitochondria gets an early kill here at the start. That is looking very good for PPE Revival. There goes Dr. Meme as well. The res comes through onto Blur. Gluten getting a couple back.
And Gluten still trying to make a case to lock PPE Revival out of the point. Mitochondria does strong arm the Widow, but that is all that they are able to muster. Shiny Hero is using the blaster to at least get rid of Blur, but that is just a small consolation as PPE Revival forced to recoil and surrender the point to MAWF Black once again, and they start their march.
Yeah, what a great play there from Gluten, really just turning that team fight around. So great work there from the Widowmaker. Here comes the engagement now.
And then moving in towards the Garden, let it be noted that PPE Revival really do have to basically pry the members of MAWF Black away from the point, while someone's in the side. Dr. Meme just gave the Winston a fresh serving of Rocket. So that will be the Winston out of the fight. That will, I'd say, give the members of PPE Revival no choice but to retreat, recoil, and give it another go, especially with Tyler being delayed on the respawn. And MAWF Black, once again, just like they were in the previous map, they're trying to put the wall up. Small chink in there with the Widow going down, but Dr. Meme has taken out his fellow counterpart.
Yeah, without Mitochondria, it's really hard to push in with the Pharaoh, actually, if you don't have point control. There goes Dr. Jeff picking up Blur as well. So some good plays here from DJ Jeff. Definitely an opportunity. There's the minefield in over the top from Wax Centaur, though, and that's going to make it really hard to push through there. Dr. Meme now dropping in the barrage as well, but gets taken out by Mitochondria. So this is still anyone's fight here. We have 4 and 4 alive on the point. Make that 3 and 3. Diva Bomb does not get much, but it does look like the point is going to continue to be held on to.
Water's Edge throws out his own self-destruct. Does not get much, but does end up ejecting Water's Edge, but will give up the life for it. That might be a little bit more than enough. So a little bit of a percentage gain for the members of...
Shiny's down.
That, and Shiny's actually gone down, so it might be just as quickly as they got it. PPE Revival might actually lose it, especially with Mitochondria getting a rocket right to the face. Despite taking down Nezzy, that might only be a small blip on the radar for the members of MAWF Black as they try to wrestle back control. Dr. Meme in a tussle with Water's Edge ejects the pilot despite giving up the life for it, but there is one member on the point, and Nezzy comes in for the res, so MAWF Black are definitely wanting to take this back, and they do, as a matter of fact, with 31% for the side of PPE Revival, and they're really going to have to get in now to keep this map going, or is it going to be game over for them? And Shiny Hero being out of the equation is not helping.
No, it's desperation time here for PPE Revival. There's a barrage from Mitochondria, does get Nezzy. That's a good start, and the barrier there really keeping that Pharaoh alive for a little longer. Gluten picks it up in the end. That minefield is really denying a lot of space. The Dragons through the middle as well. Just incredible lockdown from the members of MAWF Black. And this has been a shellacking on the part of MAWF Black. They have really just brought the artillery to bear and pounded PPE Revival with it. So far, this is looking like a very dominant performance from them.
Definitely, I said it in the first point, bell to bell. It was looking like MAWF Black were saying Lijiang Tower is our turf, and I actually want to give a little nod to the wrecking ball of, I believe it was Wax Centaur on the side of MAWF Black, especially on the garden section, where there was the minefield there, and despite Winston putting it down the shield to try and protect himself, he was just being constantly harassed and threatened just by even the presence of those mines. Not even the damage they do, but just their presence was threat enough to really sort of force the Winston of Tanatuva to really be extremely passive, which is not what you want, especially when you're basically on the attack and trying to wrestle the point back.
Yeah, absolutely. Incredibly well played there from Wax Centaur. It's really nice to see some top-level Wrecking Ball play. I was playing a bit of Rank this afternoon, and I can assure you none of those in there. But MAWF Black continue to be one of the best teams in this level here in Australia. They are absolutely one of the top Tier 3 teams. As I said, they have made back-to-back Open Div top 16s. And I dare say we can expect them to do the same in the next season of Open Div as well, as they continue to try and push themselves onwards to get through to those contenders' trials. Wouldn't be surprised to see them there eventually, because they continue to be just a really, really strong, really well-organized team. They've got everything they need to really succeed.
Indeed, and with the prospect of Open Division and then trials on the horizon, I'm really looking forward to what at least both of these, a lot of these players, and definitely, like you said, MAWF Black have that type of aspiration to basically blitz through Open Division and move on to trials and join the likes of, like, Peronius and I did do the previous season of the trials, and we'd see the likes of Atletico, Legacy, and New Era, Paradigm Shift. They're definitely capable on the side of MAWF Black to get in amongst it.
Absolutely, 100%. It looks like we'll be heading over to Junkertown next as we move over to our escort game mode. So that, and definitely an opportunity here for PPE Revival to try and turn things around. New map, new play style, chance to get their feet underneath themselves so that they can try and bring this one back, because they've got the potential. We know that they can really take it to MAWF Black. We've seen them take maps off them before. They just need to, they just need to get their balance out back underneath them, and we can expect to see good things from them.
And it's still very, very early days in this set. So the side of PPE Revival, they, as you said, they've definitely shown in the past to be very capable against the likes of MAWF Black, and they just have to try and channel that and figure out the puzzle that MAWF Black throws out in front of them. So now we're in the assembly phase. PPE Revival will still be at the blue on the defense, and on the attack will be the side of MAWF Black. I'm not expecting the Symmetra of Wax Centaur to stand, but I'd kind of like it to actually happen, to be honest. And I think the order of the day for the likes of Junkatown is keeping a distance. You see DJ Jeff with the Widowmaker primed and ready, and Mitochondria on the Hanzo, so definitely a sniper's haven
Yeah.
for the side of Junkatown, and it looks like the final setup is falling into place for MAWF Black, and I think we're seeing a tag war. We're seeing a Widow duel once again
Oh, yeah.
between DJ Jeff and Gluten. Gluten got the upper
Yeah,
hand
both teams.
quite strongly the previous time. Maybe he'll keep that going. Doesn't
Well,
quite
DJ
get that
Jeff,
first shot
DJ
off.
Jeff was hitting back reasonably well. It's just unfortunately the rest of the team wasn't having the same success. But we are going to see almost mirrored comps here. Orissa's on both sides has been the order of the day, especially on first for Junkatown. So the Orissa Hogs, there goes Dr. Meme, nice and early. That's a good start for this fight. And as the payload gets under this bridge area, this is where you really see the defense collapse in here quite effectively.
Definitely, despite Dr. Meme
Oh, it's a huge anti.
being taken down by nearly the entire squad, that is a big anti-nade onto the side of MAWF Black. Wasn't capitalized on though, which is a little bit unfortunate. DJ Jeff and Wax Centaur have hit the deck, and PPE Revival starting off this defense strong. And if you look at the card position, it is in quite a curious one. And despite the Valkyrie going out, it looks like Nezzy ate nothing but arrow. So PPE Revival can definitely stand strong for now. And this stagger could be extremely rough onto Dr. Meme. Oh man. This almost looks like retribution for the previous map.
Well, if you need to get the boost in team morale, there it is. But PPE Revival definitely coming alive. DJ Jeff putting in a great showing on this Widowmaker. Gluten definitely running scared. I mean, look at the difference in their ult charge. You've got sights up now. Gluten's at 54%, so you can definitely tell who's been winning these sniper duels so far. That's a big hook though, and there's a great nano to just try and keep that hog alive. Really nice counterplay there.
And despite that whole hog being put out, it didn't really achieve all that much. Dr. Meme has used one for himself. Didn't really get as much value as he probably would have liked either. And yet again, we're still stuck in this skirmish. It's just whoever can get the biggest value of
Oh, that's a scary dragon.
the abilities, and that is a scary dragon just parting the seas. And that's how a paper plane drowns. It just drowns in a sea of dragons. And MAWF Black finally break the defense. Despite the strong start, Gluten's definitely come alive.
Yeah, Gluten getting a lot of cleanup there, but a lot of credit to that one does go to Blur. That Dragon's really well placed, put a lot of members of the defense in awkward positions, and just really allowed the rest of the team to just punch through there. So really nice Dragons there from Blur, and that is going to see them claim A. As a result, PPE now setting up on the high ground on second, looking to try and maintain this hold. No swaps as of yet from either team.
This has the potential to actually keep going for the side of MAWF Black because the ultimate's on display. Gluten has pulled up the sights to give a little bit of recon, and at this second point, it could be a big deal just knowing that they have to dislodge a couple members, and that is a big hook. DJ Jeff gets halted, hooked, and filled with shrapnel, and even then, Mitochondria has been forced to resurrect. Water's Edge has been knocked down to the street, to the road below, and then promptly deleted. So PPE Revival not really showing as much resistance as they would have hoped.
Oh, Shiny.
Keep the payload going, and Shiny, that delay is going to hurt.
Yeah, great hook there from Dr. Meme, just dragging Shiny back. No escape there, and I don't know if it's viable here for PPE to keep playing this defense. They having to play out from these tight hallways into open spaces with double sniper is not a comfortable position, and it's not looking so great for them. There goes Mitochondria already, and a whole hog coming out as well. It's going to put a lot of pressure down. A lot of resources are being invested here by PPE, but if they're intending to swap anyways, that's not necessarily bad. But so far they have not had a lot going for them.
Definitely not, and despite a rather chaotic looking last stand, it looked like PPE did not really provide all that much resistance, and MAWF Black will move into last with about 3 minutes and 35 left in the tank for themselves, and there was a lot used, but note that there is the self-destructor, a lot of space being bought as well, just by the threat of the damage dealers for MAWF Black just moving forward.
Oh, here
But
comes PPE though.
yeah, the Revival are living true to their name and have claimed a pair. That is two of the tanks. And a big, big hook on the gluten that's been a thorn in their side for quite a while. So PP Revival might have a vehicle to be able to stabilize, but the Dragons will go down from the window top across the payload. That's caused the defense to disperse, but not a lot of damage has been exchanged. And as Shiny Hero will enter Valkyrie, looks like PPE is starting to be able to stabilize, but the self-destruct goes out and actually claims Jeff.
Yeah, DJ Jeff getting picked up by that one. Whole Hog coming out from Water's Edge now in response, creating a bit of space, but a lot of it just going into Stark's defense matrix. Good hook there will see Stark demeched, however. And with the supercharger down, oh, never mind, it is gone. There's a good hook onto Dr. Meme as well. They're just exchanging shots too, but that's a point-blank Dragon that's going to see that tank line crumple, and that defense has been once again kicked open by the members of MAWF Black.
And not only that, despite the anti-nade, everybody else was dead. And here's the big kicker. Note that the side of the Revival do not have a Diva, which would have been pivotal into eating that Dragon Strike, because it was point blank. Even though it might not have been a... It's all hindsight, I guess. There is the Supercharger going down from Wax Centaur. That's going to make things hurt a lot more. And a big anti-nade, as a matter of fact, from downtown by Tyler. So a valiant last effort coming into fruition for the side of PPE Revival, but they're all dropping like flies. MAWF Black is basically casting a shadow over Junkertown, and the darkness is looking to come for the defense, despite the whole hog coming out as being held back and being basically nullified by the members of MAWF Black, and that is pretty much everybody on the defense evacuated aside from DJ Jeff and Tyler. They are properly dispatched of, and Junkertown is done for MAWF Black.
Properly dispatched and taken care of. And I have to say, they probably needed to look at some composition swaps a bit earlier than they did. The moment they lost control of the defensive high ground and were attacking back onto the payload, they needed to be off that Widowmaker. They just were not able to get the value. DJ Jeff is a great Widowmaker when they've got the space, but they just did not have the space. You are now playing into Dr. Meme's hams, and as a result, just was not getting the value out of that. So perhaps some composition swaps a bit earlier may have made all the difference, because really, once that first defense was broken open, it was really hard for PPE to even get back into position and get themselves set up. So something to keep in mind. They need to perhaps be a bit more willing to swap. It looked like maybe they were going to swap and they were throwing out ults, but then they didn't, and it just did not pay out for them.
No, definitely not, and that's a big thing to note, and perhaps a note for them in the future is to really make note of when that type of stubbornness is just really to a detriment to even holding a defense, because I'd say even after first, but definitely after second, there should have been a shuffling in the ranks, and that didn't end up happening. Perhaps a little bit scared of a change, or
possibly
maybe even just being so stuck to a game plan they're gonna see it out no matter what, which is admirable. But if you're looking to win a map or put up a defense, sometimes that is a detriment to the squad as a whole. But they'll definitely look back on that defense and think we shoulda, coulda, woulda, and shoulda with a lot of the composition choices.
100%, but there's still an opportunity to bring it back. They did manage to delay the cart a fair bit at the start. It's not over yet. They've got a chance to make their own attack, and they're going to be coming out swinging by the looks of it. DJ Jeff over onto the hog, and they've got Water's Edge on the Diva as well. So very bulky composition by the looks of it. defenders of MAWF Black, they're going to be running the same comp we've seen them excel on before. They got 3 tanks relying on just the Mercy for healing. That is a weak point in the composition if it can be struck. With so many tanks, it can be so hard to get that key shot through.
Yeah, but basically cut Nezzy out, you cut down the defense, and Dr. Meme just got absolutely pummeled by the attack of PPE Revival. So that is a strong get to start off with as this it'll start to move forward and move towards the S-Bend, and now they move into the next challenge, which is Gluten, and Tyler being taken down is doing the attackers no favors.
Yeah, it's a good start. It looks like we are going into another quick pause, probably another issue with internet, perhaps a disconnection, but we are sitting in pause here now. Good pickup to take down Tyler. Unfortunately, the res comes through from Shiny as well, so definitely an opportunity there for the defenders to try and take some space. If they can get another quick kill now before the attack is able to get back into formation, they may be able to buy themselves the time they need until Dr. Meme gets back. Because right now, there's a real risk of this attack just blitzing straight through the opening point. So they need to be aggressive here. They need to take advantage now. Because if they can't get the kill now, then they're in a 5v6. They need to be aggressive. They need to trade back up because if they don't, there's just no chance.
Yeah, it's very much on a knife's edge as to whether this attack succeeds. Especially with that resurrect being used by Shiny Hero. You did mention that despite Tyler being taken down, he was resurrected, but that resurrection is not going to be able to be used for quite a while. And if, say, the damage dealer or even a tank, especially like a high value tank in that type of composition that you see now on the side of PPE Revival, like in my mind it'd be Water's Edge and Tad's Hoover. If they go down and they can't be brought back, it's going to be extremely tough for the defense to actually advance because you don't have the big beefy target to at least try to make room for the attackers to move forward.
100%. You definitely need that room if you want to grind through this point. Here comes Gluten in, going for the aggressive hook in over the top. Does not manage to land the target. And the defenders have actually rotated around to get this awkward position in behind. So, very interesting formation, but we do have Dr. Meme making their way back in. A lot of people very low here. There goes Blur getting picked up. So the attack still pushing its way through here.
Yeah, it would look like the side of MAWF Black but trying to go for a pinch, and that was not successful. And it looks like the side of PPE Revival are making him pay quite a bit. Stark ends up going down the delay, and whole hog from DJ Jeff will fill the defenders with shrapnel, and it looks like the payload will go through with very little chance to contest. They might be able to get a touch. No,
they can if they want. They probably could if they wanted to, but it would have been trickling in one by one. It would have been feeding over a lot of ult charge, and it probably wouldn't have been a one fight. So I'd like the decision to not commit for it. I do like that they'd rather go for the early defense here, because they weren't really properly ready to go for that contest. Dragon Strike comes out from Mitochondria and actually picks up Blur. That is a great start to this fight. And there goes Nezzy as well. PP Revival keeps this one going really well.
And all on the back of Mitochondria and the bows and arrows and Wax Centaur. And the rest of the defense have just had enough and have gotten rid of Mitochondria. Water's Edge will obliterate Stark to nothingness, and it's going to be a long contest on this point, but PPE Revival have the slight advantage now. Not so slight with Wax Centaur and Dr. Meme being sent to the bench, and the streets now clear of defenders, at least for a brief moment, for PPE Revival.
Yeah, this is great for PPE Revival. This is what they needed. They needed to get through. They needed a fast progress if they want to really keep this game competitive, and they're getting everything they need here. It is going so well for them so far. There is going to be a late contest here, but again, not really a big opportunity for it. It's gotten very disorganized, but the kills are actually coming through. They maybe, just maybe, might be able to pull this off.
And the big threat, in my opinion, would have been Gluten just looking over the top of everything, and along with the rest of MAWF Black, they've effectively shut the door on this attack in a really awkward spot too. They didn't get the second checkpoint to fall through, so that's left PPE Revival in a real tight spot, and Tanatuva is having a more internet issues, as is if you've watched OCE Sports, not just Overwatch, but OCE Sports for any prolonged period, you would know that this is essentially par for the course.
Yeah, not a great thing to have happen, but it has been a bit of a problem so far this match for Tanatuva. And maybe that's why, despite the awkward positioning, Morph Black are able to win out that fight, is because Tanatuva's ping starts spiking. If your main tank isn't able to put the shields where they need to be, it can be very hard to win the team fight. So, unfortunately, PP Revival do get ejected back to spawn. Morph Black now in a good position to set up a defense here. They've got the Bob available from Gluten. They've got a Dragon Strike as well. They've got a lot of tools in their toolkit. And really not a lot available on the side of PPE. Shiny Hero's getting close to that Valk, and they're going to have the Transcendence soon. But this isn't really the sort of team comps where Transcendence is... I mean, it's obviously a very impactful ultimate, sure, but there's nothing that's really like the big thing I need to hold Transcendence for. And because of that, it's hard to know the right time to use it at times. You don't have something like a Genji Blade that you're like, I need to hold it for this. As a result, your timing on it can be difficult. Do you throw it out when the dragons get there? Do you rely on people to just get out of the way? When do you need to use that? And you're constantly second guessing yourself. It can be a hard one to use if you don't have an opponent that you know you need to hold it for.
Yeah, it's hardly defined for a lot of the ultimates, but when you're so tentative on the use of something, because just depending on when it comes back, or how often you get it, or how pivotal it will be to coming back into a fight, it's such a really interesting conundrum, and maybe a stressful one if you're a member of a team. So it's going to be a really choppy future ahead for PPE Revival. Hopefully they build a new plane and take it off soon enough. So that supercharger is now reset because of the disconnect. Really unfortunate. And between then and when the ults are in order again for this side of PPE Revival, Morph Black has a lot more room to breathe in terms of their defense. And there is the Dragon Strike just thrown to the wind by Blur and actually tags Tyler.
There's the res coming through, but good value there from that nonetheless.
Whoa!
I'm honestly a little surprised that we haven't seen a swap here from the members of PPE, given that they need to siege through this, but they are starting to get things going. DJ Jeff picking up Blur, and there's a lot of pressure being thrown into this defensive position as well.
Yeah, perhaps a bit of an overextension there from Blur. Despite getting a big frag onto the counterpart of Mitochondria, might have been a little bit too overzealous. Wax Centaur has been eliminated from the defense, so that's opened a window slightly for PPE Revival to actually move in.
Ooh, here comes the res.
From it, and that is the res on the Wax Centaur. And the dragons will come out from Mitochondria, will eliminate the counterpart of Blur. And it looks like the last stand of Morph Black. And the blackness is washed away. And PPE Revival, we said it ad nauseum that it was going to be a tough deal, and it might have taken a while, but they made a strong case to say, we could just do it off of team cohesion alone and not have to rely on ultimates as much.
Yeah, it's interesting to see when you speak of ultimates, because Gluten held the Bob for that whole fight as well. They're not... Morph Black not committing heavily into that one. I think because of those early picks, they sort of decided it was a lost fight. Now here comes the Bob. Diva Bomb picks up too, despite its placement. Good shot there from Water's Edge, but still a lot of kills being traded from both sides. The fight is not over yet.
Definitely not. So the Transcendence will be out from Tyler to keep everybody fit and healthy. Dr. Meme has been put out of business for now. Sorry, your license has been revoked for now. And Stark has been ejected from his mech, and Des has been ejected entirely from the proceedings, and Stark has done the same in pilot form. So PPE Revival, they're looking to best the time that was set by MAWF Black.
It's what they needed to do, and it's what they've done. Dragon Strike coming through just a moment too late to get them off that point. Placement was good, timing was unfortunately just a moment too slow, and as a result, well, we're going to see PPE in the driver's seat here, 2:28 on their time, which means that they are in the strong position. They'll be setting up on defense once more, and it's on to MAWF Black to try and get this one through again. PPE are able to get that solid first point defense set up like they did last time, this very well could be a full hold in this overtime round.
Perhaps. And just to move back to the first attack that was going on for the side of MAWF Black, it actually took them a couple of fights to actually get moving properly. It didn't take until about halfway through their initial time bank until they got rolling, and now you have a fraction of that. Pretty much a one and done, or two if you're quick about it in wanting to reset. So MAWF Black are definitely under the pump here, and it looks like the side of PPE Revival are well and truly aware of this. Just looking at their comp alone, we're seeing a bit of a glimpse into the new potential role lock in terms of their characters, but this damage could be nasty if it's left unchecked. Do they notice the teeth? No, they've noticed the teeth of Mitochondria's trap, but if PPE Revival could really put the pump down and lock the attackers in place, they might not even get a first attack on the board. This has left them in a real spot of bother on the side of MAWF Black.
Yeah, I like the swaps. The Pharah definitely able to get in and around that shield and just take advantage of the altitude there. Really good plays there. Blow picks up Mitochondria. DJ Jeff has been picked up by Gluten as well. So very good move there. Like, the Pharah was probably the absolute right call there just because of the angle and how boxed in that Bastion was. But it's used a lot of time. Mitochondria goes for the tire. Does not get that one out. But it still took a while. It's a lot of time off the clock. There's definitely going to be another opportunity for a point IA defense here from the members of PPE.
I did say one and done. We're moving into 10 seconds, and the second fight will be underway while overtime is live and in effect. They're moving at the gates of the first point to basically just try and stem the tide for PPE Revival to get an actual defense. Blur does eliminate DJ Jeff, but Tyler will give the Widow their marching orders, and now we're having a fight the card proper.
This is looking good for them though. The defense is actually getting a lot done here. And there goes Dr. Meme and Stark as well, and PPE will be able to hold it here. So that's a very winnable position to be in if you are PPE Esports.
Definitely, and a real unorthodox and tough position to get a proper defense on, which is just past the bridge on the first point. The wooden bridge just moving out towards the fields, where things are so open. If the defense gets broken, they basically have to do an initial hold around the first bridge towards the spawn room, not the one that's closer to the first checkpoint. So the side of MAWF Black are definitely going to be feeling the pressure now, and this composition and positioning now for this next defense for them is going to mean so much to them.
So much indeed. They really do not have any room for error here. It looks like they're not going to be going for a really aggressive short-range hold, which means that they cannot afford to lose a single team fight. They've got 2.5 minutes to hold this. That's time for at least 3 fights in there that they need to win. They cannot afford, not only can they not afford to lose a fight, they can't afford to take any late casualties in a fight. Otherwise, the next fight's going to be very hard for them to pick up. So, not a good position to be in. And with this pirate ship sailing out at them, the traditional pirate ship as well with both sails, this is going to be very difficult to get this defense going.
It looked like the cannon of DJ Jeff had been dislodged slightly, perhaps dodgy production, or whatever you'd want to say. But PPE Revival setting sail
They're
on
just
a
going
rather
straight
calm
through.
sea, and they've just gone completely unchecked, and there's a complete miscalculation on the side of MAWF Black has come back to haunt them, and extremely hard, and it looked like a complete not a ring around the rosy, and that ring has brought us to a tie. PPE Revival will take Junkertown.
Yeah, that ringing is definitely going on in their ears right now, as they're perhaps wondering what just happened. A bit shell-shocked from that one. I'm honestly a little surprised they weren't expecting to see a Bastion, because we've just seen that PPE will go to a Bastion in these sorts of things. They just demonstrated on their own defense, and then they came out with a double sniper defense. It's Junkertown. Why were you not expecting a Bastion rolling out at you? And unfortunately, because of that, they just didn't have the tools to deal with it. So, I don't know, a bit of a gamble there, perhaps from MAWF Black, does not pay off. They just are not prepared to deal with what PPE roll out the gates with. As a result, PPE able to sail through to victory. With that, we will go to 1-1 in the scoreline. And the next map we'll be going to will be our hybrid map mode.
It's hybrid for this one, and will we actually see any of the different map aside from King's Road, which seems to be the order of the day?
No,
or
we're going to King's Road, trust
will
me.
will they stick to the tried and true?
It's an interesting one because there are definitely some other hybrid maps that certain teams are very fond of just because it plays really well into their particular style. Eichenwald, it's very popular amongst certain teams, but I dare say we're going to King's Row.
Well, it is the map of competitive Overwatch for the longest time. Blizzard World's on the table, and that's a personal favorite, if only for the looks of it. In terms of how it plays, that's up for debate by some, but more than likely King's Row will be on the table, and the admins just changed that over. So yes, we are going to King's Row, and the reticles are starting to go around. So it's one of those maps that has had so much done to it in terms of not really its layout, because it's been pretty constant since either the release or before the release of Overwatch, but in terms of how it's played by certain compositions, that's taken a lot of work to do. And before we do lock in the 2-2-2 role lock system, where do you think we are going to be heading in terms of at least composition and the positions played for the defenders, especially?
I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, Goats has had its heyday here, but Bunker seems to be all the rage. You could definitely get a lot done with Orisa on that high ground, but I don't know. I think if I was PPE, I'd definitely be wanting to go towards Bunker because that's something that's just worked for them. But it looks like they are going to be going straight for the Goats on this defense. Interesting choice. I don't know. Like the one time they've played Goats so far, it did not go well for them. So I'd want to be leaning into the Bunker that just worked for them. But they've obviously got their set strats. They've got their plans. They know how they do. It's going to be interesting to see what we see out of MAWF Black once they realize that it is King's Row Goats that they're up against.
And perhaps a one last ride for Goats until the roll lock comes into effect, and we're seeing the tried and true triple on both sides, but we have a Reinhardt on the field for the side of MAWF Black, and that hammer, if everybody's bunched up together, it's going to get shatters extremely quickly, and it is going to hurt. And Wax Centaur is right in the thick of it, and has been made to pay by Tanatsuba. And the Brigaders have traded blows, and the Reinhardts have traded blows as well, with one frag going each way. So we're essentially at a stalemate at the gate, for now.
Stalemate out the gate, maybe, but one of these heroes is going to be back a lot quicker than the other. This is a big window here to push in from the members of Morph Black, and they're absolutely going to take that space. PPE wisely backing off, giving the space, and now they're going to come back in now that their Brigadier is back with them.
And Tanatuva bore down
Ooh.
extremely low, and then eventually deleted by Blur. Dr. Meme will assist in the dispatching of Mitochondria, and the rest of PPE Revival, they sink like paper in a kitchen sink. And that will be, that defense is done and dusted. 5 minutes and 20 and some change for Morph Black, and well, that was 1.5 defenses for the side of PPE Revival, but it's just showing off how much it means to have that shorter respawn time on the attack.
100%, especially with them not messing around. They knew they had the advantage, they knew they had the numbers advantage, and they pushed in without hesitation to capitalize on that. Really well played. Meant that PPE had to back off. They wisely did so because they knew they couldn't win the 5v6, but unfortunately, then the point's taken up. That's a big shatter coming in, but there's the Transcendence. That'll keep it going. Now, a lot of ultimates in over the top.
There is a lot going out. The sound barrier on both sides, a little bit delayed on the side of PPE Revival, but that is to their benefit. It kept everybody up, and now it gives them a leg to stand on and a defensive point to really dig into. If you look at where the cart is, it's just outside of the bookshop and in this long hallway for PPE Revival. It is a prime spot if you're the defense, because you have a near identical idea of where a lot of the members will come from, and there's rallies on both sides. Self-destruct comes out from Stark, claims nothing.
A big shatter.
There is the shatter from Tanatuva. Big shot, not really all that much.
Oh, that's huge!
Right back at you from Black Centaur. Will lay the foot down, and Morph Black will start picking right through the defenders on the side of PPE Revival, and they won't be able to be revived for the time being. Everybody's dispatched for the payload, and despite that little bump in the road, Morph Black are definitely looking to be the stronger of the pair.
I have to say, I am going to miss the ult play of Goats. I'm not going to lie, it's very systematic when you see these high-level Goats teams. It really is a whole lot of, if this person does this, then I do this.
It's a machine.
It's a machine. And in that first fight, we saw about 5 or 6 ultimates get thrown out. All of them were planned and in sequence. It was, I'd press this because they press that water edge, gets the bomb over the top, gets 2 and a DMAC as well. This is looking wonderful for PPE, and they are going to stop up Morph Black here at the end of second. The gong rings. That will be a team fight win.
Yes, indeed. And despite a lot of the tools that the members of Morph Black do have at their disposal, they have the Transcendence, Earth Shatter, and Graviton Surge, as well as the Rally. I'd say just as quickly as that fight was won by PPE Revival, it might be turned back on its head, but we'll have to wait and see as to how this next fight will go down. And there is the Earth Shatter on both sides.
Overlapping support ultimates could hurt.
It almost always does. Bit of a delayed Earth Shatter there from Tanatuva. Doesn't get many in the terms of frags, but at least the threatening voice line was yelled out. Mitochondria has pulled out the rally to keep the defense as tough to break as possible. And PPE Revival, they're holding strong, but DJ Jeff really has to stay at a high charge to be of worth to them. And Waters there just pulled the self-destruct together, throws it out, bounces it off the rooftop. Just even being a threat is big enough, and ejecting Stark, that is a big deal.
Yeah, Stark now putting a lot of pressure onto Tyler now, though. Tyler having to dodge and duck around this payload, but the rest of the team will be coming back to save them now. There's a grab getting thrown in just because the defense is so scattered at the moment, countered by that Transcendence coming in from Dr. Meme, and that will be the withdrawal there from the members of Morph Black. They know they just need to regroup, and good block there by DJ Jeff.
And a big block there for DJ Jeff, and Wax Centaur might be looking like he's got egg on his face now, and now that's definitely forced Morph Black to retreat, recalibrate, and they are now short on time. Giving sub 1 minute now, and PPE Revival, they were looking a little bit shaky, but they're definitely hitting their stride now, and the side of MAWF Black, they're all bundled together and moving in through the side road for the second to last or even last fight if things get any more elongated, and Mitochondria might make it even tougher with the rally going out.
Oh, there goes the Shatter, punishes the Brigida that's a bit ahead of the Reinhardt shield, and that is all they needed to win this fight. Just one person on the ground means it's momentarily a 5v6 fight. No hesitation. Immediately they speed in and clean up. Really well played there. Great play from Tanatuva to identify the Brigida was vulnerable, and really nicely executed by the team to clean that one up.
And that is the type of play that you really have to learn to identify, and especially learn to punish effectively. And PPE Revival doing a masterclass, and we are into the final fight of King's Row. There goes the Graviton Surge from Gluten. The self-destruct goes out over the top, and Gluten actually goes down, and the Mecha Pilot of Water's Edge has been taken out of the fight. So it is 5 versus 5 for the elongated future. DJ Jeffers used the Graviton Surge as well. The Shadow did go out from Wax Centaur, and right back at you goes Tanatsuba, laying everybody out with haste. The rally from Blur will try to heal everybody, but ends up getting paid for it by Tanatsuba. He is a big, angry man, and is laying right through the members of MAWF Black. And the Tracer of Gluten is halted and bowled away by Water's Edge. And just before the foul, PPE Revival put up a sound defense, and they have a very, very clear win condition.
Yeah, look, that's egg on my space right here. I said I'm not sure about going to GOATS. It didn't work out for you last time. Well, I have to absolutely issue an apology to the members of PPE Revival, because that was some incredibly well executed team play there. The coordination and communication is obviously top notch, because every little micro play, every little micro advantage they get absolutely executed on as a team, and they were cleaning up those fights as a result. So really well played there. They obviously have a lot of practice with this play style. They know what to do. They've got a clear order of command and communication as well, so that when an opportunity presents itself, everyone can capitalize on it. So just incredible play there from PPE. I'm really impressed with their GOATS play.
And it's like you said, it's a like we said, it's a machine, that type of composition, and everything has to be ticking along in order. And you did say that they were slow to start off. Well, a lot of powerful machines take a while to get going. Think of tanks in general. They sometimes take a while to get going, and then once they get going, they hurt a lot. And that was put on display by PPE Revival there. Now the defense of MAWF Black, a curiosity indeed. We have the Mei, the Hanzo, the Torbjorn, and I don't even know what to make of this, Peronius, and neither does my cat.
Neither does your cat. Yes, we can hear her and the bell rather. But I like this play from MAWF Black. They cannot compete in a GOATS v GOATS matchup, so it's a good idea for them not to. By having this multi-DPS composition, they can take multiple angles. Hanzo's on an off angle from the Torb turret. Torb is again playing away from his turret as well, opening up more angles, and then you got the Mei wall to split up. And immediately we're seeing some adaptations. PPE are immediately going, you know what, we cannot play GOATS into this. It's just going to pick us apart from too many directions. And so as a result, you've forced them off that comp that they were doing so well on. So good play there from MAWF Black. And now, well, you just have to worry about this Pharah from Mitochondria, because there's really not a lot that can threaten her, especially with that Pocket Mercy.
Definitely not, and Water's Edge has blindsided Gluten on the man, has forced the Resurrection to come out, and Dr. Meme is without a turret as well. So definitely a big get for that side. Now Nezi's just trying to make the rest of the team have their last stand, but can't do that, and giving the healing to Tanatsuba and Tyler because they are dead. And Mitochondria is trying to restore things and open things up, but you'd be hard pressed to getting everybody into position to try and get an attacker to the point, but getting Gluten and then Dr. Meme with the barrage, it could have basically broken open the door with brute force.
Yeah, I think they are going to manage to grind this one out. You are correct on that one. Late res coming through onto Dr. Meme means it's not over as of yet. But numbers advantage still overwhelmingly in favor of PPE, not to mention they're close to respawn. So they will get this cap, they will get this payload underway, but it's not over yet. And Morph Black still have about 2 more defensive fights they can pick before this one is rolled across the line.
And Nezzy being fragged late by turn. So definitely not a fun time when your healer has been put on the bench for a while. And just waiting for them to turn might feel like an eternity. Looking at PPE Revival and their ult bank, I'd be extremely terrified if I were on the defense, especially with the Dragons, Ifrasight, Supercharger. Supercharger and Nano Boost is extremely terrifying. With the
Ooh, that's a
Ifrasight with
meme.
Jeff and Mitochondria has just been promptly eliminated, so they know what is at stake on both sides.
Absolutely. Dragon Strike's coming through in both directions, and there's the Mail as well. The Supercharger does not get a chance to live long, but despite the Mail, the kill's still overwhelmingly in favor of this attack here from PPE. Payload is going to get rolling as well. There's really only going to be one last desperate defense here. This is not a comfortable position whatsoever, and there is still this Pharah just raining down rockets uncontested from the sky. They're actually going to go over to the goats just to try and close this one out. But I don't know if it's going to work.
They might just have done this a little bit too late with the lack of mobility, and Dr. Meme has been obliterated by Mitochondria, who has been left uncontested, has thrown down the barrage. And what defense is there if you just beat it to death with rockets? That is exactly what was put on display by Mitochondria. And that is a second map for PPE Revival, and that is 2 maps to 1 for them.
2 maps to 1, one more, and they have won. And this is looking into a very different series from what we thought it might be way back on Lijiang Tower. And that Pharaoh Barrage is the exact reason I was hesitant about bringing goats out for this last defense. Absolutely plays out how I thought it might in my mind. Didn't quite get to there with the words before it happened, but
You're a psychic, man.
well,
Unbelievable.
it's just something to worry about. Eventually it all starts to come together. As a result, we'll be going over to Assault next. And so that's going to be a bit of a change of pace once again. And Morph Black again have the initial map choices. They can narrow it down to 2 maps that they think they do well on, and then PPE Revival will have the final say there. So definitely an opportunity to bring this one back, but wow, PPE Revival absolutely coming alive. I can see why people have been referring to them as scrim monsters as of late. Took them a bit to get going, but now that they have, oh boy, are they a force to be reckoned with.
They definitely are, and well, being true to their name, being a revival, they look completely. They did not look like a team that looked like they were going to put up all that much of a fight just based off a Lijiang Tower. But I guess it's the proof that you can't really base an opinion off of such a small window of time. Things can change, especially with a game that is as fast paced as Overwatch. Things can change so often that that opinions can't really stick unless there's a lot more plays seen. And based off of what Revival have done, they've definitely gone from strength to strength the longer we've gone on, and we have a chance to find a little bit of peace. We are moving to Hanamura for our next map, and Peronius, it's a question that I ask nearly every time we go to Hanamura. Will we see a sound defense on point A or B, or will it just be a full-blown wrecking crew that runs through an attack?
I'm expecting a wrecking crew here. Like, Hanamura has always been such a strong map for goats, and you can definitely expect PP Revival to just come charging through here. They had the choice of this map or Horizon. They've gone here. You can expect them to want to be running that goat's freight train right through. Their set plays have looked really good. They may not have done well in Control, but Control is a much brawlier play style. Things get disorganized, things get out of, all over the place and out of hand. But when we've seen them working as a team and just executing these plans, everything in sequence, they have looked unstoppable. And Assault is very much a game mode that plays into that one. perhaps more so than everywhere else. So I would be very worried right now if I was Morph Black, because this could very well be the last map of the series. If you can get through this one, then you're going back to control and you've got an opportunity to turn things around. But right now, this is where you need to hold them, because otherwise, PPE Revival will be going through to the finals, and that's not what you want.
Definitely not, especially when you're a team that I've heard so much about in terms of them being potential runners in open division, in even moving towards the trials or even up to the upper echelons of contenders. If they end up taking a loss here, that might be a sign that a landscape change is underway. But now the gates are down, and I'm really curious as to how Gluten will be faring on this Ashe, mainly because I have been really enjoying watching Ash's play since her introduction to the roster, and seeing how this will play a part in breaking the defense that is currently being employed by PPE Revival.
Well, there goes Mitochondria, so off to a great start already. Shiny Hero almost getting picked up. There it is, getting picked up now by Blur. This is definitely a big opportunity here for this offense to push through. There goes Tanatuva as well. So this is looking like a quick point A take. Maybe not as quick as a Goat Stack charging in here, but still, it's a one-fight wonder nonetheless.
I'd say it would have been just as quick as a Goat's composition. That was essentially just an ambulance just coming right through and saying, "Hey, we're here to pick up the people. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine." And Morph Black, well, they wasted no time. About 5 minutes and 50 to play with, but now they have to keep this going, or Morph Black might be having a quick change of fate in terms of a defense to deal with. Because if the likes of PPE Revival could really get stuck in, it might get a little bit difficult from here on out, and a big anti-nade isn't really going to help things.
No, not going to help things at all. Really nice pickup there. Gluten is going to get rezzed now by Nezzy though, so definitely still an opportunity to keep this attack going, but the defenders absolutely using their position advantage, levering it to the maximum. This dive-based sniper defense can be very dangerous. And there's so much space on this second point, so many different places you can retreat to.
It's essentially down to the shrine floor, and Blur has a better control of the Shavana Dragons for now. Mitochondria has been pulled into the casualties sheet, and PPE Revival might be forced to sort of really consider their next plan. And Nezzy really wants to go for this, has moved into Valkyrie mode, but Gluten has been punched to death by Tanatsuba. Blur and Stark have worked in a tandem effort. Gluten's been brought back into the fight, and what was that from Mitochondria? Just shot that right at the floor.
It was a good shot. If the angle had been just a little bit wider, it would have been a fantastic Dragons. Unfortunately, angled a little too far down means that they don't quite get the value. Tanatuva now getting ejected by a combination of Whole Hog and Bob, but the staggers are still coming out. And there's still an opportunity here for the defense. They just need to pick up a kill or two, and they could really start to get this defense going because the attackers are so spread out. But they're stuck with another Whole Hog already, and that is going to knock everyone away from this point. Now we just have DJ Jeff desperately trying to keep things alive on this Tracer. Mitochondria back on the Genji as well, but this is still looking like an absolute domination here. The attackers are well and truly set up on this point, and with that bunker there set up there, it is so hard to eject them.
Definitely, all it is just speed and trying to make Kronos your friend on the side of PPE Revival. Or the quicker heroes just trying to stall things out there, making a decent go of this with Tyler being on the Lucio and Mitochondria on the Genji. That was a decent amount of stall, just from my rough calculation. I'd say about a minute 20, a minute and a half was shaved off there. So a decent effort there from PPE Revival, all things considered, but it was still a relatively quick 2-point capture there for this side of Morph Black, and they are left with 3 minutes and 20, and now PPE Revival are left with a little bit of a task and a puzzle to solve in matching that time.
Matching that time and matching these Actually, I don't know where I'm going with that one, but nonetheless, this is where you have to be worried if you're Morph Black, however. The time you've said is good, but this is where PPE can just jump back on this goat stack and charge through. We've seen a number of different offenses actually rolling out from PPE, so you can't even rely that it will be a goat stack. And in fact, by all appearances, it may well not be. So
And
Morph Black, they need to stop this. They just have not been able to put up particularly strong defenses against PPE so far, and PPE have shown about 3 or 4 different offensive styles, so you can't even predict what they're going to be rolling out on.
And that's quite a valuable attribute for any squad, especially in a game like Overwatch, where it's all based on compositions and knowing and having a rough idea just based on players and their play styles and their heroes of choice. If that's constantly shuffling like there is for the side of Revival, it's going to be a really hard puzzle for them to solve. And the gate's now down, and now it's up to PP Revival to try and match the previous effort. I'm still curious about Gluten and how it'll actually be employed, and seeing it up the top is actually going to be an extremely
Ooh,
high priority to try and
Gluten.
dislodge. A Mitochondria did come close, but it actually ended up going down for the troubles, and that ended up getting resurrected. But still, that's definitely put Mitochondria on notice.
Absolutely, and it was actually super key that Gluten won that exchange as well, because it was a big ante onto the tank line of the defense as well. And if
Oh.
Gluten had gone down to the Pharah, Mitochondria easily could have pivoted through and started laying rockets into those exposed vulnerable tanks. Blur picking up DJ Jeff is still looking pretty good for the defense here. They're holding, there goes Tyler as well. Tanatuva has now overstayed the welcome. The rockets are raining down from Mitochondria, but, well, it's still looking like the defense will hold here for now. Just remember that there is a big respawn advantage for the attackers, so every kill that isn't able to be res is a very high value kill indeed.
Definitely, and looks like Moblak are holding on for now, and Mitochondria was way in the back line trying to get the, just at least try to wait for the comrades on the side of PvE Revival to get into position to try and pinch the defense, but it was not to be. So Moblak sailing pretty comfortably thus far, and now we're moving into the middle stanza of proceedings where this defense can actually start to cycle ults properly, and it'll be up to the attackers to try and solve this, or it's going to be a really long night for them. And Dr. Meme getting the final blow into Mitochondria is not going to help things. There's a supercharger to get everybody up.
Supercharger gets a few other ults out. Another Supercharger in response, but Dr. Meme gets halted into those dragons. Definitely a valuable pickup there. Unfortunately, they haven't been able to burn down that Supercharger. Another dragon sailing through. This time, Blur picks up Tyler. So the defense from Morph Black will continue to hold here. There's a couple of members that need to come back. Oh, late kill onto Blur is a very high value one. That is a long run back. This is definitely an opening here for PPE.
Yeah, just knowing that Shiny Hero was low, he really wanted to go for it and ended up just paying for it, dealing things to DJ Jeff. And with the Empress side, that might be the opening the PPE Revival needs to at least attempt to break the defense. But with Bob on the field, it could be extremely difficult. But Mitochondria, again, he has gotten a lot of value from his barrages. That's another huge pivotal one thrown out, and
Bomb gets 10
Star from downtown will blow away Tanatunga. So at least the last stand is possible, but it's extremely difficult for the side of Morph Black.
Yeah, the point control is still overwhelmingly in favor of PPE. With Wax Centaur going down, it is all over by the cleanup. Now it's just time to set up that second point, but with only 33 seconds left on the clock, a lot of time went into that one already. Morph Black are going to have the better time bank here. So that's a victory in and of itself. Tanatuva now going over to the Reinhardt. We are going goats. And we are going to be seeing them just charging through, trying to bring this one to a quick end.
Check this out. And PP Revival are like, this might be our last chance to play goats before next season. Let us have this one. Let us go for one last ride, and there is a brief pause, so that time will be a little bit extended. So perhaps it's another issue with ISPs and connections to the server. It appears that the mitochondria are having a little bit of grief in terms of him dealing with server issues, as we went over earlier. Nothing new. So with what we've seen thus far, what what do you see between the attacks of both sides? I'd say that the side of MAWF Black seems to be more together as a squad in terms of just based on solely how quickly they were able to completely seize control of the first point. And PPE Revival was struggling with it for quite a while.
It did take them a bit to get in there, but a lot of that was just on some great play from Gluten. That Ash really did shut down that first push, and then from that, they're able to build up a bit of an ult advantage, and that keeps them in the game. This, however, as we move into second, the ult advantage, even though the composition swap has just come through, almost a full comp swap on part of PP Revival, you still have to say they have a slight ult advantage coming in here because they're so close to that Diva Bomb and the Nano Boost, and there's not a lot available, but Mitochondria going down early means that this fight is already over, and that's going to be an opportunity here for MAWF Black to build up some of these ultimates.
And DJ Jeff going down too. And a lot of the tanks following suit. So PP Revival, as you said, it was pretty much done as soon as at least two of the members went down. The Brigida, especially. As soon as they're down, that type of push is done because you rely so heavily on the Brigida and the healing and the armor that she provides to get a sound attack off. So even if there was a quick attack from PPE Revival, they're definitely the turn back advantage on the side of MAWF Black, and now PPE Revival are moving up towards the top to just move in towards the shrine as a complete unit. We'll see how this plays out for them.
Yeah, see how this one plays out indeed, but overwhelmingly the ult advantage has swung. Tyler going down early from Stark as well is devastating to this push. There goes DJ Jeff as well. So another fight easily won here by MAWF Black. This is really starting to look very dangerous for PPE, actually.
Real dangerous, but they did get a third in amongst all that commotion. That might be a factor if this momentum continues. If they do get 1/3 for each fight, this could be a second attack chance for PPE Revival, but I'm pretty sure the likes of MAWF Black will not want that to happen again. And with the ults on offer for PPE Revival, MAWF Black are really gonna have to be on their toes to try and either bait out or just completely nullify any ult advantage that PPE Revival might have moving into this next fight. And looks like we're moving in towards it right now.
Oh no. And MAWF Black needed that. MAWF Black needed to win that fight if they didn't want to capture in overtime, which they can't afford to do. So this is looking so good for MAWF Black here. They've just been able to dodge around this goat stack, take advantage of their long-range poke, and get those key frags.
Oh no, Water's Edge. He's gonna get staggered so badly. Look at this.
Yeah, it's not. You hate to see it. You do, but
this is going to hurt. I'm gonna feel like just as the rest of the PPE Revival squad get into position, that pilot will be gone. But you know who else is gone? One of the main healers, and there goes the mecha pilot of Water's Edge. Wax Centaur gets the parting blow, and this has crumbled and turned into a disaster for the side of PPE Revival, and they're going to have to claw something back from the dead if they want to pull this back in overtime. The rally does come out, the entire squad is there, they're moving in towards the shrine, and that is going to be a world of hurt administered by Blur, being the ruler and conquer of everything. Overtime will be in effect. Water's Edge will throw out the bomb, but dies in the process. Does get two parting words.
Oh, they let that happen. They didn't even try to dodge that bomb. They knew the game was over.
Yep. They're just like, yeah, but we got the map win, so it's okay. Everything is fine.
That was an absolute disaster for PPE Revival. They could not afford to lose those early fights, and they did, and it just put them into a position, especially with the incredible staggers coming through from Gluten. It just meant that they were no longer in a position to be able to cap that outside of overtime to begin with. And unfortunately, all these big tank ultimates that the Goat Stack brings, they're not useful against that sort of multi-DPS poke composition because they're all CC ults. You don't get enough people grouped together to ever get a big grab or a big shatter. As a result, Morph Black absolutely run rings around PPE Revival and they hold it at Hanamura second. And this is where the momentum immediately swings straight back to Morph Black because we're going to Control next.
Oh, yes.
And the last time we saw Control, PPE Revival got absolutely destroyed by Morph Black. So unless something has changed, we are not looking for a pretty end to this one unless PPE can really summon up something we haven't seen yet.
Well, maybe, but I said it in the open when Gluten was going off on the seemingly his signature based off of this set, the Widowmaker that he played throughout a lot of the maps. But I was going back to the opening map on Lijiang Tower and then tying it into the previous map on Hanamura. He'd made himself public enemy number 1 with how much damage he was laying out and how critical his frags were, and that defense, especially towards the closing stages, was, like you said, off of the back of Gluten and his hard hitting frags. He got a couple of crucial ones onto healers of PPE Revival, and that made attackers that were even limp to begin with nigh on impossible.
Yeah, it was a really, really good performance there from Gluten and from all the members of Morph Black. They played that second point really well, and they knew their win conditions. They were getting the cheeky kills, and PPE Revival just not able to provide the defensive screen that they need to be able to keep their squishy targets safe on that approach. So really well played there. It's a bit of a shame because their team play was so solid on King's Row, yet PPE Revival not able to show the same coordination in just getting to the point. Because a well-played Goat Stack, you really do at times struggle to get those sorts of cheeky Widowmaker shots through onto the squishy targets because you're having to shoot through 3 tanks to get to them.
And when you got big health pools, you can't really deal with that. Just so much beef, so much HP to deal with, and even as a Widowmaker, you need a backup for that type of thing. And now we are tied at 2. We're going into the final chapter, the final map of the semi-final of the Ascent Alpha Division semi-finals between PPE Revival and MAWF Black. I've been Cyberwaste. Thank you for joining me. I've been joined by Parodius. It has been a 2-man effort and an absolute show that we have been able to bring to you. And man, it's been fun times. And now people playing esports Revival, they are really wanting to try and correct their woes on the opening set of Control, which was on Lijiang Tower.
Yeah, they've really got to do it if they want to bring this one through. We're back onto Ilios of all things. This is going to be the showdown in Greece, and well, we've got to see what these teams roll out with. It's another map where definitely you can roll out with the Pharaoh, with the Wrecking Ball. We saw some great things from both of those before, but it looks like these teams, well, Stark, no, we didn't have Stark on the Wrecking Ball before. I don't think that's going to be staying the same, but...
No, it was... Who was it? It was Wax...
Wax Centaur's Wrecking Ball was really good, but don't know if we will be seeing that one again, but definitely an opportunity here, especially here on Lighthouse, where there are so many edges to take advantage of.
Not only
Maybe
that...
we will be rolling out with the Stark Ball.
Yeah, superior attack.
There it is.
And there it is. And you know what? I'd say it's a good pick, especially because not only with the environment advantage, just with the point nature itself, because it is so contained in the actual lighthouse, and Stark is looking to engage really quick. That minefield, when it gets up, and if Morph Black has control of the point, it's going to be a real pain for the side of PPE Revival to navigate properly. And they're definitely aware of this. Stark's been anti-nated, the point's been unlocked, and nobody's near it. Just wanting to get the first point out of the way. And Blur is just saying, hey, eat my rockets. See how they taste. How they taste. They taste good? Well, too bad. We're going to keep feeding you with them. And that'll be first point control pulled over to MAWF Black. And despite Gluten going down, you'd be feeling pretty happy with how that opening stanza went for the side of MAWF
Yeah,
Black.
I mean, there's always a lot of value to getting the opening cap there. Whoever gets the first capture wins most of the time on control. Although that percentage, I believe, has been dropping in recent days, it's still overwhelming in favor there. That said, the late kill onto that Doomfist, a big opportunity. DJ Jeff now ejecting Stark, and Blur getting picked up by Mitochondria as well means PPE definitely are coming back in this one. They may be able to get a quick cap.
And maybe, and that's exactly what they really need to do given how the opening fight went, and it looks like they're well and truly on the way to doing it. They were going to into just basically panic mode on the side of MAWF Black to try and square things up. And the only frame of note that got pulled back was Mitochondria going down to the counterpart of Blur, and that was probably a raise by Shady Hero.
Exactly, and that's because the members of MAWF Black need a moment to regroup as well. It's not the worst thing. There goes Mitochondria again, however, and that res no longer available. So this is an opportunity for them to flip the point back again. Fever Bomb up in the sky, a little too high to get any value from it. Blur takes themselves out, but gets Tyler in the mess of it as well. And there's the res as well. This is looking really good for PPE Black to try and keep this alive. But Tanatuba is going ham with this Primal Rage, just trying to get the kill onto Stark there. This is not giving up this point as of yet. There goes Tanatuba.
And PPE Revival are really wanting to do this, and just in the nick of time, Where's Edge escapes with 4 HP to try and get back in with at least a little bit of HP. So a decent pullback effort in terms of just bleeding percentage on the side of PPE Revival. And they got about, say, 20% worth before the actual tip went over. Now Dr. Meme having the Valkyrie is just keep making sure that things stay in order for the side of MAWF Black, just keeping everybody topped up and being as mobile as possible and just being a real pest for the pharmacy combo on the side of PPE Revival.
Yeah, but that pharmacy combo is being a real pest as well. There goes Water's Edge though, so it's going to be a bit of time until the next attack is able to be coordinated and organized against there. Just a tactical reset from Water's Edge. So we're going to see Mitochondria just trying to get some opening picks in this fight with those long-range rockets, but not quite committing in. Here comes the attack now. PPE, they need to win this fight, and Wax Centaur going down early is a good start to that. They've lost Tyler.
Losing Tyler, that might have a huge amount of value, but Mitochondria is, I'd say, he's having a quiet duel with Blur as well. Who could be the more impactful Farah? So that's been something that's really developed, and they came close to 99%, but MAWF Black will have to give that one up, and now PPE Revival now in control of the point. It looks like it's safe for MAWF Black, according to them at the very least, to make a couple of changes with Stark retiring the Wrecking Ball and moving to the Diva, which actually changes things, especially with DJ Jeff with the Deadeye. That might be less effective now.
That defense matrix, a good counter both to the Deadeye. Well, perhaps not the best counter to the Deadeye, because there goes the pharmacy stack, but a good tool against the Deadeye, a good tool against the Pharah, but this time it doesn't look like it was in position in time. A great Deadeye coming through, and all the kills coming through on the back of that as well. Tanatuba getting a couple, and then Wax Centaur going down to that bomb as well. This point is looking very much in control by PPE Revival. There is desperate barrage coming in from Blur, but gone immediately. And this is looking like PPE Revival will be getting the initial advantage here on Ilios.
It's essentially panic stations and single file, and another barrage from Mitochondria gets the parting word on a Wax Centaur. And PPE Revival have had a bit of a change of heart in terms of how they play control, because they looked far more together, in my opinion, compared to the opening map on Lijiang Tower. It's like they've sort of actually come together and are perhaps a little bit more familiar with Ilios compared to Lijiang Tower, or they're just more warmed up together and kind of are starting to figure out the tendencies of MAWF Black now and are trying to take advantage of that.
Yeah, it may just have been, it may have been that not that they were weak on control, but rather they just needed a proper warm up because PPE Revival looking a lot better here than they were back on Lijiang Tower. We're seeing some incredible Pharaoh work from Mitochondria, not to detract from Blur's own Pharaoh work, and just some really solid team play, just taking advantage of any openings they can find. You've got the 1-0 advantage now. All they need to do is get through Ruins, and they will have taken this series and gone on to the grand finals. At the same time, we're going to Ruins. There's been a lot of Widowmaker duels tonight, and there's still a lot of opportunities for more of that to come. So far, we don't have either Widowmaker locked in from Jeff or Gluten, but both have shown to be very potent on those heroes. So definitely still an opportunity for either of them to pull that one out here, but we'll see if they stick with these traces or if they are going to be going to the Widowmakers, especially if we see Farahs in the sky. Now, we are immediately seeing some changes here.
We're seeing Blur with the Genji and Wax Centaur as the Winston, and you were saying that Gluten might be moving on to the Widowmaker. We see DJ Jeff has moved on to the Widowmaker, and Gluten might either be considering or perhaps even electing away from the Widowmaker as well to try and play this on the ground because of the fact that there is the Genji in play.
Exactly.
So it might be overkill for them.
Yeah, I think if you're running the Genji there, I think the Tracer is what Gluten is going to stick with, at least initially. They're not going to be opting into the Sniper v Sniper duel, but rather looking to just jump on those long-range snipers and pick them off with the traditional dive. Stark's back on the Wrecking Ball, which definitely adds to that as well. You've got a lot of dive potential there. It's going to be interesting to see if they can keep the healing up with that, because Dr. Meme on the Moira means that they haven't got any sort of long-range healing, so they need to play together, and Wax Centaur already picking up 2. That's a good opening there for the members of MAWF Black.
And a big get to, not only did he get 2 frags, he got the Mercy first up. So, no matter how you slice it, that is a big frag to get the opening stanza. And despite that, it was looking a little bit shaky, but MAWF Black finally put their stamp onto the point proper. And that's already put the side of PPE Revival on the back foot.
Yeah, that's it. Tyler's got a very early coalescence, answered immediately by Dr. Beam as well. Those Moira ults charged so quickly, and Wax Centaur has already been ejected. This is definitely an opportunity here for PPE to get control of the point back. They did, once again, last time they lost the first fight and got an immediate quick retake, and it looks like they may be primed to do that again. Mitochondria has been picked up by Gluten though, so this is still anyone's fight. Diva Bomb over the top, creating a lot of space, but Shiny Hero going down there means that maybe Morph can hold on to this after all.
Yeah, that is a big get. Whenever a healer, especially a higher value healer like Mercy goes down, it's nearly panic stations and abandoned ship. If you're on that composition, it looked like Paper Plane Esports had no choice but to basically concede that fight and try again. But MAWF Black, because those fights went on for so long, we're closing into 60%, and the only ult that's on deck is the Coalescence, and we've seen a couple of changes. DJ Jeff not really feeling the Widowmaker, is preferring to keep it a little bit closer with the McCree instead, but looking at MAWF Black, they're definitely in for this as a long haul.
There's the minefield over the top now. There goes the sound barrier as well, so definitely nothing coming through as of yet. MAWF Black, now the sound barrier has expired. Dr. Meme throwing in their own coalescence there, and there goes Mitochondria. Blur has got the blade out and is slicing through. This is looking like 100-0 at this rate.
This is looking like a full-blown shutout and a stretch to boot. That is a late ejection on the water's edge. Looks like MAWF Black won't have time to get the pilot. They won't need to. And just to rub it in, Blur had deflected. I thought it was the pulse bomb, but no, it was the teammates at Gluten's. So that is struck back hard from MAWF Black. That was a shutout, 100-0, and the penultimate point of the semi-final in the Ascent Alpha Division. is the well, okay, the pit of doom. Will we see Orisa Hog? Looks like we're seeing it on the side of PPE Revival. Will MAWF Black elect to follow suit?
It's a good question, but it doesn't look like so far. And I think they have been getting good value from Stark's Wrecking Ball, so I don't disagree with the call there. They did just get the 100-0 shut out. Obviously, Well is a very different point there from Ruins, but this could be it. This is the golden point. Whoever wins this one is going through to the finals. So this has been an incredible match, and you can tell just how close these two teams have been together. That's a great opening hook, and there goes Stark. Big opening pickup. Kind of hero though. Oh man, that's some better value pickups, but just the kills coming through from both teams. Just such incredible plays. PPE Revival does have the slight edge here, but oh, there goes Dr. Meme. There it is. PPE Revival will get the point flip, but that could have gone either way there with those opening kills. What an incredible trade.
You were saying in one of the intermissions that this type of control will elect to a more scrappy playstyle. You could not have gotten a more scrappy looking fight if you tried. Just two teams just getting in amongst each other, just going for broke, going to blows in quick order. And PPE Revival are coming out on top, and they're definitely wanting to hang on to this one as the percentage begins to climb. They're a quarter of the way there, and MAWF Black are just moving into position to try and break this now defensive PPE Revival now that everybody bunched up. And Stark, he was getting so much value on the Wrecking Ball, but he can't for a while. The Tatsuva has been traded back, so MAWF Black really trying to pick apart this defense is slowly starting to erase it, and they're making a good job of it.
They are, but it's not over as of yet. Stark has not had a good round on this Wrecking Ball so far. It really feels like PPE Revival have specifically made sure that that Wrecking Ball gets punished hard, and they're continuing to hold this point. Now we have Tanasuve making it back on the Orisa as well. So the respawns coming through, this can be a very hard point to flip just because of the size of it. And so far, MAWF Black have not been able to get the kills through quick enough. Now it looks like they're finally getting the tide turned in their favor, but it's already 75% progress.
Indeed, and Mike Sentinel in the Primal Rage did knock back one and give the parting blow onto Shiny Hero. Water's Edge got the frag back onto Blur. We're going into the old back and forth, but in this entire fight's instance, more percentage has been accrued by the members of PPE Revival, and yet again, Max Sentinel almost fell to his death because of that halt, and finally it got tipped over by MAWF Black, but now they're in essentially 1 or 2 fight territory, and they did not want this, not at all, especially given how close it got for a few instances.
Yeah, all it is going to be one decisive fight win by PPE, and they'll be able to win this round, win this map, and win this series. But blows in with the barrage. The Diva defense matrix is immediately there to take the heat off. Tanatuva still gets taken out. Blur and Nezzy have been traded back. There's mitochondria from Dr. Meme. It's still anyone's fight here, but it looks like MAWF Black are going to be able to win this one out. That said, the whole hog from DJ Jeff may be a changing factor on this one. PPE still feel they can win this one. They're committing resources into it. As a result, they're going to get some more resources out. There goes Stark once again. He has not been getting value out of this, and PPE are going to try and close this one out here.
And there was nothing from the minefield, a light hook onto the border of Dr. Meme. And despite all the members there, Gluten has been promptly eliminated, and it looks like the far right only just gotten a bit too high.
I don't think they can get here.
And it looks like
they do have a touch.
MAWF Black does get a touch, but just not having good luck does Mr. Stark. He's had a rather shocking display on the Wrecking Ball, and now it is only single file for MAWF Black, and now they may fade to their aforementioned color, but not with a win, but with a defeat. PPE Revival will fly high in the sky, and they are one of your grand finalists.
Absolutely, and what an incredible series we've had today, Cyberwaste. Just such a close back and forth between these two teams. It's not even as though every map was incredibly close. it was almost the opposite. We saw one-sided map and then a different map that was one-sided for the other team. Just these two teams taking dominant performances off of each other. In the end, though, our final map, Ilios, looking really close there, but PPE Revival able to close this one out. They'll be going through to the finals next week, but just I'm blown away by the quality of Overwatch we've seen here tonight.
And it was fantastic. And I gotta feel it is not over between these two squads. They'll be champing at the bit to try and play each other again in the near future, and especially when the role lock gets implemented formally next season and in the near future. It'll be interesting to see how the landscape changes, not only throughout the entire scene of Oceanic Overwatch, especially around Australia and New Zealand, but between these two teams, I noticed a lot of dynamics in terms of just map types and their compositions and how in tune they are. Like you said, it wasn't decisive victories, at least until the final. It wasn't like a tightly contested set. It was basically blowouts going each way until the final map. And it went back and forth that way. It wasn't really just a tight struggle. It was essentially, if you remember Duel way back in the day for like American Gladiators, and they just welly on each other for 4 straight maps. It was a treat to watch. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah, what an incredible match. Well done to both of these teams. But at this point, I think we do need to name our player of the match. And it's going to be a tricky one because there's a number of great candidates. But, well, I'll let you go first. Do you have any standout players that you think deserves it? Because I've got an idea. But
I had one, but I had one for the longest time, but he's on the losing side. And, well, by the normal tradition, you can't really give a player of the match to a member on the losing side, but I'd give commiserations to Gluten. He would have been outright, but I would say Mitochondria.
Yeah.
For the side of PPE Revival, he had a lot of clutch plays, especially with his Pharaoh play. That's what really sticks out to me, especially on the likes of King's Row, and especially on Ilios. Towards the end there, he had an absolute field there, especially on the lighthouse portion.
100% of all the players. Obviously, there's a lot of great team play in PPE, and a lot of them are feeding into each other to set these things up. But my standout performer was also Mitochondria. I guess we can say that tonight he truly was the powerhouse of the team as well. And
he had a cool name too. Let's not forget that. It's fun to say. I'm going to be honest. It's great. It's fantastic.
And with that, that's going to be all from us tonight. We will be back later this weekend. I believe there is an event AOE is hosting on Sunday as part of the Outback Brawl series. I believe we are having a supports battle. So if you're interested in checking that out, come by 5 o'clock on Sunday. But that's going to be all from us tonight. I've been Pyronius. I'm joined by Cyber Waste here. I'd like to give a big thanks to our producer, Riotline. And do you have any closing words, Cyber Waste?
None really, but it's given me a really good litmus test for the near future, especially for these two teams. I really want to see them go again, and I hope that they can do that in the future. And I want to thank the AOEsports audience in general for joining us this evening. My main man has been Peronius. Our producer has been Rightline. I have been Cyber Waste. Good night, happy fragging, and be the best hero you can be.